Edric. A seamstress will soon find her way into the final trial. This signals the beginning of the end, or so the king thinks. Adina is little more than a pawn in his game, plucked from the castle and thrown into the pit for something as fragile as his ego. Edric hates the daughter he believes to be his, and as punishment for killing the woman he loves, the king will take Payden's only piece of comfort in this world. From high above in his glass box, Edric enjoys watching the weakness emanate from Payden Grey. She screams and cries and begs for a god who is wholly uninterested in such a plight. It is, oddly enough, a gift that the trials did not end the ordinary's life, for the king himself wants such a privilege. But in the end, it is that rose atop Iris's jewelry box that foretells his doom. Hatred begins to fester in Edric's heart the moment he believes an ordinary to be born of him. Yet, they share no strength, no morals, no ounce of blood. Payden Grey belongs to the queen and her love for a fatal. But that does not make her any less a princess, nor does it lend her any more strength as an ordinary. King Edric's last moments are spent spilling blood and spitting enmity at a girl he has spent 18 years loathing. Even so, he mentions nothing of her lineage, because she is not worthy of knowing the truth. The king wishes her to die having never known of the royal blood in her veins. He will not allow Payden Grey the satisfaction of understanding how much she has haunted him. So he carves a circle upon her heart, just as his wife has done countless times atop his own. Though this is no gesture of love, like Iris intended, but the marking of what was lost. All for the ordinary squirming beneath his boot. The king ensures Payden Grey will wear that mark until her final breath, because it hurts to bear the weight of Iris's touch alone. It is in the ordinary's skin that Edric writes the truth of her birth, of the great love that died, and the spark of hatred that was born. Atop that muddy ground, mangled flesh spells out his love for Iris Moira, as the king lays her to rest with his final act of justice. Though, in the end, it is he who is buried beneath the weight of secrets and betrayal, for he never learns the truth of those he loved, and how they loved one another.
Chapter 67. Payden. What are you talking about? Kit's words are a hiss, making me flinch. His red-rimmed eyes grow unfocused. My heart pounds beside Kai in this study that seems to be closing in on me. I almost try to convince myself that I've misheard the malice in my husband's voice. But it is no use. The crazed look he wears only confirms the words he spits so readily. It's as though they have been smothered beneath his tongue for weeks before finally unleashing them. This is not the Kit I knew, nor is it the one I was beginning to befriend. This is the embodiment of a fraying mind. Edric wasn't my father, Kai answers, his shoulders stiff. Mila already had a child when they were secretly wed, a powerful one that your father only wanted as his spare and weapon. So really, the enforcer takes a step forward, so stoic and sure. Payden is your blood, not me. After all that time of calling Kai Azar a cocky bastard, that was precisely what he was. I had uttered the truth on a dozen occasions. I watched the steely words hit Kit, and yet he hardly flinches. That may be so, but you are my brother. You are more family than I have ever had. More, he searches Kai's gaze desperately. More love than I have ever had. Father was obsession, mother a ghost, but you showed me what love was. The reminder of my naivety nips at the corner of my consciousness. I've spent weeks trying to repair a bond I thought was only severed due to the killing of a king. But I realize now that Edric Azar was merely a variable in Kit's contempt for me. It is Kai he wants at his side, his brother and friend, and I alone stand between them. Why did you marry me? I prod. If I am a wedge between you two, then why not kill me? Kit finally deigns to meet my stare. My plans for Ilya require you. I gape at his curt response before he's turning once again towards Kai, features suddenly beseeching. Together, we will build the greatest nation, stretching far beyond the scorches and shallows. We will create a legacy that Father never dreamed of. Kai stares at the boy he's called brother his whole life. I thought you wanted to be exactly like Father, your father. Whatever happened to following in his footsteps, doing anything to make him proud? Again, Kit says with a cough. I grew up. Father told me of his plan for the resistance, how his entire life was wasted trying to rid the kingdom of ordinaries. He shakes his head. I spent so many years believing he was a god among men, that his plans for Ilya were beyond anything I could hope to achieve. But it was all so mediocre, obsessive. Kit wags a finger in the air. Yet he had the gall to make me feel inferior my whole life. All I wanted was his pride, his approval, his love. So now, his gaze widens with that wild look. I will be so much greater than him. His name will be overlooked in the histories beside my own, beside ours. Kai's expression grows worried. And how will you do that? Kit rounds the desk slowly. His features morph into something so terrifyingly calm, I nearly flinch. We have already begun, brother. The look in his eyes worries me more than his words. I swallow thickly. My voice is quiet. What did you do, Kit? No, he clicks his tongue. What did you do, Payton? You became queen and made the surrounding kingdoms open their borders to us. You, a relatable ordinary, had them lowering their guards against us. And why, Kai breathes, would that be a problem, brother? You know, I'm used to being overlooked, the king mutters distantly before beginning to pace. Kind, caring Kit, after all. But I really thought that you, his piercing gaze cuts through me, would suspect more from me. You thought saving Ilya was the best I could do? He grins sharply. No, I'm liberating every kingdom. Kit, I begin slowly. See, I don't care whether the ordinaries live or die. Obsessing over their existence is what ruined Father, Kit explains eagerly. And for the first time, I see a trail of dark veins creeping from his hairline. But elites should not be confined to this city. They should populate every kingdom. And when I rule over every realm on our maps, Kit smiles, and it is chilling. I'll have earned Father's favor. Kai steps hesitantly towards his brother. What are you saying, Kit? Was uniting Ilya just some ploy? Not at all, Kit says, sounding almost offended. He coughs into that handkerchief again, splattering it with something ominously dark. It was needed for the kingdoms to open their borders and begin trade with us. My heart pounds. Each rapid beat of it brings me closer to discovering yet another truth to tear at the fraying seams of my life. You're not opening trade to exchange resources, are you? The question is hushed, and I fear the answer. Of course I am. Kit's voice is even. So I can exchange resources laced with the plague. Air flees my lungs. I'm still struggling to breathe when Kai shakes his head. You're not thinking straight, Kit. What are you? I was waiting to tell you, brother, the king admits. I wanted all the distractions out of the way, but now we'll have to do. Ilya needs food and land, yes, but that is not what is important here. He hurries on before Kai can object. What I found in Father's letter was so much more than his pathetic plan for an elite kingdom. I found the truth. I stand there, paralyzed by his words. The plague didn't just happen to Ilya, Kit grins. It was made for Ilya. The sudden ringing in my ears nearly blots out the king's hurried explanation. A century ago, when Ilya was weak and on the verge of being conquered, scholars thought they concocted a substance meant to strengthen our troops against attack. Fabian Azer, funny how I could never remember his name during my tutoring, was at the end of his rule when the plague began. Perhaps the spread of this virus was accidental, or, more likely, Fabian unleashed it on the kingdom. Kit rasps out another cough. You know us Azers and our hunger for power. Either way, what started as something meant to offer our armies a defense turned into a kingdom-wide plague. The king's gaze sweeps to mine. But it failed to strengthen us all. That can't be right, I sputter, skin prickling beneath his stare. How could we not know the plague was man-made? You're the psychic, Payden, Kit muses. Take a look around and observe. Why do you think we even have a fever season? Why elites, the strongest among us, exhaust ourselves when using too much power? Why there is a dying queen in the West Tower, unable to be saved from the grief slowly stealing away her life? Why the healers couldn't save my mother from dying because of your birth? His words sting, but he doesn't stop. The signs were always right in front of us, because the plague wasn't right, wasn't ready. There were never meant to be ordinaries left on the other side of it, and my father spent his life trying to right that wrong. They should have died with the plague, but instead, they plague us. I've planned for this day a long time, waiting until I could rid myself of this resistance. My head spins as Edric Azer's voice rings through it. His spewed admissions beside the bowl come flooding back, now suddenly clear. Don't worry, Payden. I didn't just kill your father simply due to some gossip. I'm panting beneath the crushing weight of realization. I killed him to ensure my elite society remained. This was my father's doom, the truth of our plague. Callum was right. It wasn't Adam Gray's involvement with the resistance that cost him his life. It was the secret he was smart enough to figure out. Images flashed before my mind. Evidence in plain sight. My father frustrated with his own power and its inability to save a sick child. Scribbled notes in his journal documenting a fever patient he couldn't cure. Elite slowly weakening over time. The death he could not spare Alice from. I'm a damn healer, and I couldn't even save her. I feel faint, my mind unable to handle any more illuminating discoveries. I'd watched my father trek to the castle every year during fever season, watch him struggle to heal a sick child despite his ability, and never once did I wonder why those named elites bear such weakness. Perhaps some part of me reveled in the fact that the Almighty were not gods, that sickness still stalked them, and exhaustion accompanied the use of too much power. Perhaps I should have listened more closely when Father muttered about the ordinary disease being bullshit. Perhaps he knew that the king was only attempting to right the wrongs of a defective plague. Adam Gray died because the king couldn't risk his people knowing the truth of their flaws. When the plague began, Fabian swore all of his scholars to secrecy. Kit was telling his enforcer when I blinked back to the present. No one was meant to die. But then again, the plague was never meant to spread across the kingdom in the first place. So, not wanting to be blamed for the multitude of deaths, Fabian instead spun a story for those strong enough to survive, saying that they had been chosen by God to become elites. Now, the truth of this plague is passed down to the kings alone. I press a hand to my tight chest. All those meetings with the scholars, I mutter under my shallow breath. You wanted them to create another dose of the plague. And they were stubborn, Kit admits. The kings before me wished to hoard our power just as the scholars do. But do you not see how many mundanes crowd the kingdom? His voice crescendos into something crazed. Our abilities are dwindling, Kai. The plague has been so diluted in our blood over the decades that offensive and defensive elites are becoming scarce. Soon, we will become nothing more than ordinary. And now, the scholars have perfected their dose. I bite back my scoff when the king adds, Father was too simple-minded to see that every kingdom could be elite. His lips curve. But I will save us from becoming extinct. And when every city is brimming with powerful elites, I will be so much greater than Father. Have you lost your mind? I hiss. Think about what you are saying, Kai utters slowly. You might save our power, but tens of thousands would die, Kit. Half the population from each kingdom, dead. Not to mention how many people you would need to break before they bowed to you. You said so yourself, brother. That is why you're here. To save me from brutality. Kit takes a step closer. We make a great team. A dark shadow crosses the enforcer's face. So, just like your father, you will use me as a weapon. I am not using you, Kai, he says earnestly. We are working together, using our strengths. The enforcer's response is biting. And mine is death. It is a gift. Brother, Kit lifts his arms as though awaiting an embrace. Together, we will rule the greatest nation this world has ever seen. The kingdoms will be loyal to me, to us, for strengthening them. He smiles, and it is unnervingly genuine. Father has trained me my whole life to rule over elites. I will make them fall into place, and your troops will help. The surrounding cities will want to follow me. Silence stifles the room. I step into it, facing the man I've married. This is madness. The kid I knew once would know that this... His biting laugh makes me wince. The kid you knew? A fit of cough steals his breath, but still he attempts to laugh. The kid you knew was naive enough to tell his father that you wouldn't dare betray me. My voice is choked. You knew about Edric's plan for the resistance? Callum sent you to go find the tunnels beneath this castle, and Father used me to ensure you did. He shakes his head. I was stupid enough to think you wouldn't use me like that. Callum wasn't controlling you, Kai states. You were working together. No, he wasn't controlling me, the king nearly laughs. But I was happy to go along with that theory. I always knew of Callum and his role to the king when Father died. So when the mind reader found me, hoping to continue Father's plan of exterminating Ilya's remaining ordinaries, I was hardly surprised. Kit takes a step closer, and Kai shifts towards me slightly. At first, I mourned my father deeply, as you know. So when Callum advised I marry Payden to draw out the remaining ordinaries, I agreed. But that was before I found his letter. I was reminded then how inferior his goals were, how little he cared for me. So, with the knowledge of a man-made plague that could be replicated, I suddenly knew how to bury Father's legacy with my own. My body begins to tremble. And Callum agreed to this? He recognized that my plan was far superior. Kit waves an inky hand. But he did become a liability once I discovered those letters in the jewelry box. If I was a bastard, I couldn't have him telling the kingdom that. Slowly, his eyes find mine. But he was not the only loose end. Blood rushes to my cheeks when reminded of its royal qualities. I'm not a threat to your throne, Kit. I saw the way all of Loot kneeled before you, Kit hisses. If the slums discover the truth of your lineage, they might rise against me to see you on the throne. This is absurdity, Kit. A look of concern crosses Kai's face. You're not thinking straight. The king's laugh is hysterical. What? Because this isn't your caring, Kit? Because I'm clever enough to devise a plan you've both played into? Another step forward. He looks like the shell of the boy I once knew, his mind frayed and body frail. I must not be thinking straight, because no one is used to me thinking at all. What about the trials? I blurt. Kai training your troops. Kit sighs, exasperated. For Kai, a distraction and safeguard against stubborn elite kingdoms. For you, a death sentence. My face pales. But you just wouldn't die, he says softly. The bandits, the crew, the wielder in that pit, none of them could rid you from our lives. And that was fine, because I was going to let this next dose of plague take you on its own terms. His gaze softens. I'm not a monster. I didn't want to kill you, Peyton, but now you have a claim to my throne. My stomach churns, threatening to spill its contents on the worn carpet below. This cannot be happening. I must be dreaming, desperately trying to claw myself awake from this nightmare, because I refuse to believe my life is yet again crumbling around me, all within the span of a single day. But this is real, and I am standing, shaking, before my husband who used the trials as a way to kill me. Trials that are typically meant to showcase the elite powers that were not gifted but created. Elite powers that do not make you a god. They make you a successful experiment. I don't know whether to laugh, or cry, or rage. Just calm down, Kit. The enforcer's arm brushes mine when he takes another step to shield me. This is insanity. I won't let you go through with any of it. You cannot ruin yourself for the promise of legacy. But the king is hardly listening. His gaze has fallen to the stretch of skin Kai has pressed to mine. Even now, he whispers. Even now. This proclamation is louder. Look at you, protecting her. She has taken everything from us, including each other. We are so much better off without her, brother. Kit reaches out an arm, his fingers curling around the hilt of that ceremonial sword. Just like old times. There is a wildness to his features, his movements. I watch it unfurl down the length of his body, spreading from that crazed gaze. Something sinister seems to have snapped within the king. I see now that those stoic moments with me were simply a repression of everything he felt, a biding of time. Kit, Kai utters slowly, put the sword down. It's never going to stop. He waves the tip's blade in the air as though completely oblivious to the picture of severity he paints. You are going to keep choosing her over me, again and again. But I need you, Kai. He laughs out the words humorlessly. I need you with me, your focus, your loyalty, your heart, all of it. Kit, think about what you are saying, Kai warns. She was only ever a means to an end. The king's sword swings dangerously at his side. Those dark veins bulge against his pale skin. I needed her as queen to draw out the kingdoms, open their borders. But her usefulness is short-lived for us, Kai. My stomach lurches beneath a clenching heart. I can't help the pang of hurt that vibrates through me. I once considered this boy a friend, a confidant I accepted spending the rest of my life beside. But the hysteria in his voice, the sword in his hand, makes me flinch. A means to an end. Kit is not the only Azure I've been used by before inevitably meeting the end of their sword. This king is a reflection of the last, whether he sees it or not. Enough, Kit! Kai's chest lifts with quick breaths. This is mad. I won't help you spread another plague through the kingdoms. You told me I wouldn't have to kill ordinaries while you are king. He swallows. And that is exactly what you would be doing. Kai. The king's gaze grows eerily sympathetic. It's already begun. My blood chills. What are you talking about? Kit swings the sword sloppily at his side. Fine. The trials were more than a death sentence. They were useful to me. My mind reels as I drift back to each of the trials. Marina's crown, Mac's death in the pit, and the roses, I sputter. What did you do to those roses? They were laced, and you delivered them for me. The damning words slide easily off Kit's tongue. Then a rattling cough spews from his mouth. Isram will be the first infected kingdom. Kai's chest heaves. His words are drowned in disbelief. What have you done? You will come to understand, brother, the king urges. Blood trickles from the corner of his lips. Just as you will understand why I must rid our lives of her. I take a slow step back. Kit. Kai stretches out his arm in front of me like a shield. You're sick, Kit. You know this isn't right. His stern tone slips into something more pleading. And you know I won't stand here and let you hurt your wife. The king's eyes flash. Still, you hate that she is mine. Even married to me, she holds so much power over you. Look at yourself, Kai. You are wound so tightly around her finger that you can no longer think straight. He tugs at his hair in frustration, tangling the blonde strands. Things will go back to the way they were without her. You and me, always. I glance nervously at his swinging sword. Why would you want to do this? I thought we cared for one another. Oh, don't take this too personally, Peyton. Another step. I even began to enjoy your company over these past few weeks, despite how desperately I wanted you out of our lives. But you have to understand, I just want my brother back. Kit, calm down, Kai orders. You're not yourself right now. The blade flashes in this flickering light. I didn't want to be like this. Really. His eyes are on me, but I'm not entirely sure he sees me. Delirium curls his lips into something that makes me shiver. But you've forced my hand. I can't have a lost princess stealing my throne from under me. Kit, stop. I'm not after your throne. I hurl the words at him, cutting off Kai's and hoping to break through this haze of hysteria Kit wears. I never wanted it. This is all in your head. He looks down at his sword. The king seems to be somewhere else entirely. Of course you want the throne. All you've ever wished for was power. Kai steps forward, and I'm unsurprised to see him pause at an equal distance from myself and the king. That is where he has always stood, torn in two different directions. Duty, desire, loyalty, love. Like always, he strains to hold on to both, but his grip is slipping, and a cruel reality is setting in. One cannot have both. Kit lifts the sword, angered that his brother stands in its lethal path. I'm doing this for us, Kai. For Ilya. She is all that stands in the way. Let's just talk about this. Kai lifts his hand slowly, just as one does when attempting to calm a spooked animal. You and me, brother. We will work through this. You're not yourself. This is what I was made to be. Kit's voice cracks. If this is not myself, then I don't know what is. I was created to be king, and that is what I am. That includes making the hard decisions, the brave, the benevolent, and the brutal. The sword flashes as Kit surges towards me. Kai would never hurt his brother. I know this as much as he does. So when the king lunges towards me, I expect this breath in my lungs to be my last. Death allows me a single moment to accept my fate. He reaches for my hand like an old friend, our reunion at long last, and I am content. The father who would never dare hurt me is waiting beyond, Adina at his side, and Mac next to her. The sound of singing steel rings through the room when Kai blocks his brother's blade with a fire stoker. He'd only just snatched it from the hook when Kit swung, forcing him to step beneath the arching blow and halt it with trembling arms. Kit drags his sword across the length of the stoker before stepping back. Get out of my way, Kai. That's an order. Not until you calm down. The enforcer flips the stoker in his palm. I will fight you all night if I need to. Hurt flashes across Kit's face. You will never stop choosing her until she's gone. The king attempts to shove past his enforcer again, but Kai steps into the blade's path. That iron rod counters the swinging sword once again, though its pointed tip expertly avoids Kit's chest. I watch Kai, noting how deliberately he remains on defense. This is not a fight he intends to win, only one he wishes to put an end to. I can do little more than shake my head at them. Stop this, both of you! The stoker Kai holds clashes against his brother's sword. I am not choosing between either of you. You already have, Kit pants. He shoves a shaky finger towards the empty space beside Kai. She told me. Staring grimly at the indicated nothingness, Kai murmurs, You're sick, Kit. Let me help you. Sick? The king's tone is terrifyingly calm. Then he's laughing, the sound somehow more frightening. Greatness is not a sickness, brother, and once she is gone, you will see that. A clashing of metal ensues. Jagged shadows are painted across the walls, scrawling an ever-changing story of this battle between brothers. It's hypnotic, the way they flow in and out of each other's ferocity. This is a dance well practiced, one they have been partners within for years. I blink at their forms, at the fluidity they find within each other. This is hardly a fight. This is reminiscence. It is as though they are back in the training yard, sparring with a routine that is second nature. Kai steps in, arcing his weapon. Kit falls back to catch the attack with the blade of his sword. A cross of metal hangs between them as both brothers strain against the other's strength. They push away, resume the routine they created as boys. This is the enforcer's distraction. I watch them anticipate each movement. Calm Kit down without hurting him in the process. There is something so intoxicating about the way they move. I stand there, stunned at the sight of two people knowing each other so deeply. It is entrancing, like a prophecy foretold finally unfurling before my eyes. Kit's hostility towards me means nothing in this moment, because there is nothing but peace here. Steel flashes, metal sings. Kit advances, Kai evades. The enforcer faints, the king anticipates. It is a beautiful sequence of controlled chaos. When their weapons meet again, and they stand face to face, a slight smile is shared between them. This is how they know each other. This is how they remember themselves. Before me are the brothers who taught each other to love with a sword in hand and a muddy ring beneath their feet. They found companionship in what they could control, and in this moment, that is each other. Panted breaths fill the study, shadows stalled on the wall before the brothers break apart. Still sharing that small smile, they fall back into that familiar flurry of movement. Kit lunges, Kai parries. The enforcer thrusts that stoker towards the king, his broad back blocking my view. I wait for the answering sound of steel. I wait longer. Time grows sluggish. Something shifts in the air, like a stuttering of the song they were sparring to. Their feet halt awkwardly between beats of this rehearsed dance. The peace that once filled this room flees from it. A solid back collides with my chest, making me stagger. That is when a haunting sound fills the room. A strangled shout cuts through the silence. My own shuddering breath fills the tight air as I step around Kai. There is that slight smile on Kit's face, the one he used to give so freely, charming and warm. Now it's found his lips again, as if to make up for all the times he had forgotten how to wear happiness. My eyes drift downward. The iron stoker protrudes from his chest. That golden hair lies tousled on his head, glinting like a halo around his pale face. The king's blood stains the same as his father's had. Kai rushes to his brother, voice choked. No! You were supposed to dodge, Kit! Dazed, the king looks down at the stoker buried in his chest, touches shaking fingers to the gushing wound. His palm leans heavy on the desk beside him, leaving a bloody print atop his pile of parchment. My whole body trembles as I watch blood seep from Kit's touch, bathing scribbled words in scarlet beneath his fingertips. His wide green eyes lift. I forgot. Kai catches his brother when he stumbles. Stained sheets of paper tumble from the desk. The king watches them flutter delicately towards the ground. And then he follows.
Chapter 68. Kai. Kit's knees hit the floor right beside my own. I can't think. I can't feel. I can't hear anything but the sickening sound of my brother's flesh tearing over and over again in my mind. Rage consumes me, swallowing all sanity. I feel myself wavering on the edge of some irreversible darkness, like a gaping hole my soul is slowly slipping into. But I cling to that flickering light within me, that piece of Kit he's planted there, and beg it not to burn out. He sways on trembling knees before beginning an agonizing topple towards the floor. I catch him, my arm curling around his back as I lay him down gently. This cannot be happening. None of this is right. Not the crazed break in my brother's character, or the ashy stoker skewering him. A puddle of blood crawls slowly across the rug beneath his shuddering body, and I can hardly feel its sticky warmth lapping around my knees. You were supposed to dodge, I say again, my words heavy with guilt. I thought you were going to dodge. The delirium that was clutching Kit so tightly begins to slip away. I forgot. I can't even remember myself. I try to ignore the tears welling in my eyes as I press trembling hands to his wound. Blood oozes between my fingers. I'm going to fix this, okay? Now it is I who sound hysterical. You're going to be just fine. Peyton sits stiffly at my side, her eyes wide and glassy. Kit's eyes drift distantly to his queen. I did care for you. I don't want to be a monster. My hands cup Kit's face, turning it towards my stern one. Hey, I'm the monster, not you. All right? His voice is thick with pain, with something cold I don't dare identify as death's arrival. You're a pawn, but I'm the king who plays you. Though I don't remember most of my moves. I force a shaky laugh because the alternative is far too damning. Always the dramatics with you, Kitty. My throat tightens as I grab his bloody hand. I'm gonna make this right. A tear rolls down my cheek as I shut my eyes in search of a healer's power. Duel bleeding out before me. Hydro down the hall. I dig further, reaching out into the corridors beyond. Gust, shield, veil. Every Imperial outside the door is utterly useless to me. I fight against my ability, urging it towards the other end of the sprawling castle where I know the healers reside, where every one of them is uselessly out of my reach. A wall slams into my power, and terror grips my heart. No. I rail against it, my head pounding with the force. Father used to push my ability to the point of failure, and this is what it felt like. A wave of exhaustion crashes over me, evidence of my weakness, evidence of a fabricated plague and its flaws. Kit's salvation lies just beyond my reach. There are no healers, I gasp. I need a healer! The shout bounces around the study, replaying my helplessness over and over. Desperation tears from my throat again. Peyton, go find me a healer. She nods, face pale. Keep him awake until I get back. And then she is tearing out of the room. I look down at Kit and his loosening grip on my fingers. You're going to be just fine. You hear me? It's all the comfort I can muster for him as I will the words to be true. Green eyes grow blurry. His head shakes. A violent rock of his skull against the bloody floor. A whisper leaves me in ruins. I haven't felt right for a while. I don't remember. But I'm scared, Kai. A sob spills out of me. I duck my head, shoulders shaking in time to the beat of my shattering heart. I'm right here. My voice breaks. You're gonna be fine. It was all for us. I remember that. He murmurs weakly. I just wanted my brother back. You never lost me. My words are a plea. I desperately need him to understand. I've always been right at your side. Your brother. No matter our blood. No. Kit's soft smile displays the blood seeping onto his lips. That crazed haze seems to have cracked, leaving only the shell of my brother behind. You were somewhere between us. Never able to decide who you loved more. I shake my head. Tears spatter his bloody chest. I can love more than one person, Kit. But I cannot, he whispers. You were the only person that loved me, Kai. And I was losing you to her. I hang my head in my hands, slicked with my brother's blood. This is all my fault. It should have been me. I choke on the emotion clogging my throat. This is my fate. I'm supposed to protect you. Kit sucks in a rattling breath. I think... His eyes flutter shut. My fate was to save you from me. Don't say that. I choke. You are the king. You are my brother. A sob weaves between each word to follow. And we promised to always stay together. Grow old enough that the only thing we remember is each other. And that you would be okay. Because you are worth every one of my memories. You promised me that, Kit. I pull at my hair with a bloody hand. Damn it, you promised! Kit lifts his head from the ground, golden hair matted with blood. My knees soak in the pool of it as I reach to cradle his neck. He looks up at me, eyes warm when they land on mine, just as they have always been. I don't want to be a monster, he whispers. I just wanted to be great. Tears stream down my face. You don't need to be great, kid. You're good. You've always been good. He shakes his head, and the movement has a rasping cough falling from bloody lips. I don't want to be alone. You won't be, I say roughly, because you're gonna be fine. Me and you, Kit. Always. You promised me that. I lift my head to let another futile cry rip from my throat. Help! I need a healer! Kai. It's weak. My name from his lips. But the quiet contentment in which he says it is enough to make me weep. He has accepted this fate, broken a promise, doomed me to a life without him. Bury me. Kit takes several shallow breaths, then he smiles. Under the willow tree. I won't be lonely there. My very soul feels as though it is splitting in two. I can't do this without you, Kit. Please. Please. He says nothing. His eyes drift shut. Stay with me, Kit. I pat his cheek, though I can hardly see him through my steady stream of tears. I need you to stay awake. His bleary gaze finds mine again. Then he's lifting shaking hands to fumble with a wedding ring on his finger. My voice quivers. What are you? Kit slips that steel band free, and with the last of his dwindling strength whispers, love each other. For me. Then the ring is pressed into my palm. No. The word is defiant. No! This one drips with anguish. I need you with me, Kit! His gaze trails upward, rests on the silver shadows that cling to the ceiling, staring down on us. I wrote you letters. The words are nearly lost on death's chill. So you can see why I'm a monster. There is a sudden widening of the green eyes that so easily crinkled with laughter. They grow distant, pinned on a phantom beside me. Breath rattles in his chest. I'm scared, Kai. I squeeze his hand, pressing it to my forehead with a whimper. I'm right here. I think I might be dying right beside him. You're okay. A ripple of relief washes over him. His mind seems to clear for the first time in weeks, but his words fade away. I just want to be great. You are, I breathe. The tears are falling faster now. You will be remembered as Ilia's greatest king. I promise you that, brother. Blood blossoms from beneath his body, like a peaceful pool surrounding a gruesome scene. It stains his hair, turning the tips of each blonde strand into a delicate crown, as though death himself has placed it upon his brow. Forgive me, Kit, I beg. The quiet words he aims over my shoulder aren't meant for me. I'll go gently. For you. Then his gaze is fixed on the world beyond. Mine goes quiet, without him in it. You and me, I whisper against his bloody chest. Peace is forever pressed into his features. Anguish rips me raw from the inside out. Please, don't leave me. I am numb. I am dead beside him, but cursed to keep living. Grief is my equal. Misery, a mirror. I call sorrow by its name and speak my own. My head falls back with a roar of agony. My brother. My brother. My brother. And when Peyton throws open the door, a healer at her side, I am lifeless on the floor beside my brother.
Edric. Before meeting his fate at the hands of Peyton Grey, the king warns his son of the threat she poses. Scrutinizing him thoroughly, as he often does, Edric Azar sees the man who fell in love with Iris Moira all those years ago. The similarities between the king and his heir are eerie, like looking into a warped mirror to see pieces of oneself fossilized on another's face. Kit stares warily at his father from his assigned seat before the fireplace, while Edric reclines casually in his worn leather one, as if he hasn't just metaphorically ripped the floor out from beneath his son's feet. So, really, Kit ventures slowly, you are the leader of the resistance? Edric drums his fingers against the faded armrest. Technically, though, it is Callum who is the face of it. And he is one of the Fatals you've hidden away, Kit confirms. Yes. Over the years, I've tried to keep their identities as hidden as possible. My fatals are my most powerful weapons and spies. They are of no use to me if everyone knows who and what they are. The king meets his son's eyes, and again, that eerie feeling washes over him. It's as though he's looking into his own gaze. Kai still does not know the truth. But you, Kit, are my heir. It is time you know these things. Know my plans, so you may continue to fulfill them when I no longer can. Kit straightens in his seat, a foreign sense of importance washing over him. He has, for better or worse, waited his entire life to prove himself to his king, his father. The boy has wanted for little more than to be needed by the man who has always withheld his affection. Though Edric's relationship with Kai is strained, Kit finds himself envious of even the begrudging approval his father feels for the enforcer. It is pride, praise even, that the heir finds himself craving. But his role is not one that displays tangible achievements, and this forces him to work even harder to prove himself. Failure is the word Kit most fears, and it will plague him still, even after the death of his father. He is not quite sure where the overwhelming need to please stems from, only that it seems to fester with each day the king shoves a book beneath his nose. Disappointment Kit can bear, but indifference from the man meant to love him drives the boy mad. Nothing is ever good enough. Not his studies or etiquette or practiced charisma. At least with Kai's field of physicality, there is some measure of accomplishment, some death to be doled out or command to fulfill. A dark thought has always dwelled in the back of Kit's mind. Perhaps the death of his mother has tainted his relationship with the king. Even the prince hates himself for her death, when in truth, one Kit will never come to know. Edric cannot love something that is impotent. And unlike Kai, the heir is nearly useless until the king's demise. And that does not sit particularly well with him. Though if Edric were being honest with himself, he rarely is. He would admit how similar Kit's temperance is to Iris's. This only makes things harder for the king, and is perhaps what pushes him to mold the prince into something harsher. But here, in this moment, the king needs something from his son. And even after all this time, Kit will do anything to make him proud.
You want me to show Peyton the tunnels?
Kit says this with a skeptical kind of thrill. Stern, though equally bland, the king elaborates. She will try to convince you to take her through them, like I said. You will do so, but not obviously. It should not be difficult for you to reminisce on how you have never strayed far from the castle walls. This is a sad truth, one that the heir will have no quandary speaking of. There will be no need to put on a facade for this intriguing girl, but rather lower his walls and let the feelings spew from behind them, though that may prove to be more difficult.
She wouldn't,
Kit urges.
You don't know her like I do, Father. She won't betray me to...
She is nothing. She is nothing. The king's hiss has his son wincing. And those that are nothing will take everything from you. Remember that, son. He lifts a stiff finger between them. Do not make the mistake of feeling for her. In this moment, Kit does not believe his father to be right. He holds hope close to his heart, grieving in the goodness he knows his mother would have wished him to. Later still will he discover the naivety of hope. Slowly, Kit nods, ever obedient to his father's wishes.
And why exactly am I doing this?
The king smiles, and it's joyous enough to tell the heir it isn't meant for him. Because I am finally able to put an end to the resistance. The prince thinks on this. His face slackens with surprise. For the first time since he was a boy, the man before him suddenly becomes just that. Behind the facade of a grand king, a god of elites, there lies a single-minded man. Kit has always thought his father strived for more than just the eradication of ordinaries, more than a single kingdom of elites. That perfect, powerful image of Edric Azar begins to melt away, leaving a child who is oddly disappointed by the mediocre sins of his father. He has always expected more from the man who so flippantly raised him. If Kit and Kai had endured their loveless lives for something truly great, it might have been worth it all. Because that is the truth of it. Kit has never learned how to love. And yet, he somehow stumbled into it with his brother. But everything else, every hopeless attempt for his father's favor, is born of obsession. That alone is what the king has taught him.
That is all you want, father?
The heir clears his throat, intensity building behind that green gaze.
A truly elite society within Ilia alone.
What more could I ask for? The king snaps. And if I meet my end before it is finished, you shall continue my legacy. Wipe out the ordinaries for good. As it was always meant to be. Kit blinks sluggishly. That is all his father wants of him? All that is expected of him after everything he has endured? Do you hear me, boy? The king's booming voice does not make Kit wince. I have plans for you. The heir nods. He has plans as well. Kit will become so much greater than his father. Then he will have earned his approval, become worthy of the love he never understood. Later, Edric will speak with his daughter again, spinning each word to seem as though she is influencing his sons. Each jab is intended to spur her towards spending more time with Kit. The heir discreetly doing his father's bidding. Soon, that boy would become a king. And with the crown comes a discovery of the truth. The letter Edric leaves his son is a reflection of the one Landon Azar left him. And so the secret of the Great Plague is passed on. As for Kai, well, the king does not care for the budding relationship between his enforcer and forgotten daughter. Nor does he care for the spare who is not truly his. The king revels in Kai's power as much as he despises it, because, in truth, it was not born of him, making Edric hate how something so strong is not his to claim. This is why he pushes the boy so hard, spills his blood in training, and hardens the heart that pumps it. He equally loves and loathes his enforcer's power, and it drives an immense darkness between them. Kai does not understand the extent of his father's indifference towards him, or why he suffers so heavily at the hand of his king. Payden does not understand the extent of her birth, and how it is connected to the king's loathing of her. Kit does not understand the extent of his father's hatred towards ordinaries, but he does not need to. No matter the reasonings, it is inferior to everything the king has put him through. The heir will no longer tolerate being unremarkable in his father's eyes. He will overwhelm every hope and dream Edric has for Ilya. Kit Azar determines to be the greatness his father never was. In time, they will come to see what was hidden from them. Every lie brought to light, every secret unraveled. But the king, dear Edric, will never know the truth behind that rose on Iris's jewelry box.